Alan, the big ones arrived, the opening Edinburgh derby of the season here at Easter Road. There's a lot riding at this one, not just local bragging rights, but obviously points in the search for promotion. What's your general attitude and mindset heading into this particular fixture?
I think every derby is a big game, whichever way you look at it, and no matter where you are or what you're playing for. You know, it's always a big game in the fans' eyes and the players' eyes. And it's always a date that they're always looking for on the calendar. So, you know, we know what's at stake, and we know how, not just this game, but we know how important this game plays a part in the fans' day-to-day lives. You know, we know it's in a very important game. We know it's bragging rights, and we know that, you know, they want to be the ones who are cheering a victory.
Just looking at this situation then, how valuable do you feel a win would be, not just to close a gap on Hearts at the top of the table, but also just to give everybody a lift?
Well, I think because it's your local rivals, it's important no matter what, where you are. It doesn't make any difference. It's important to get a victory over your local rivals, and that's going to be the case on Sunday. You know, Hearts have started the season well. You know, when I look at the game at Tynecastle, there wasn't hardly anything in the game. You know, a moment of, you know, the game changer was the strike from the goal. You know, and he's hit it really well. And that was really the difference. You know, we've missed a penalty at a really important stage of the game, which could have completely changed the outlook of the game, but it never. You know. So we lost the game. Looking back at the game now, you know, the Hearts have got some dangerous players, but there's nothing we need to fear about them. You know, because for 90 minutes we competed, and if the result would have went the other way, no one would have said anything about it. Sunday is a great chance for us at home in front of our own supporters to give them something to sing about and cheer about and be proud of. You know, and that's what we'll be looking to do on Sunday.
After your opening match in charge, all the way back against Vale of Leithen, you mentioned about the need for ruthlessness in the final third. Yeah. Do you feel that the performance at Livingston, as the pennies finally dropped, that the players are now taking those chances?
I'm hoping so. You know, whether the penny has dropped, you know, completely, then only time will tell. You know, but that was a real positive step in the right direction. You know, we'd created chances in the game. We looked like we were going to score, and we looked like we had that belief when we were in front of goal. Whereas, I've got to say, on one or two occasions we've created opportunities, but for whatever reason it hasn't fell into our path. We haven't capitalised on the amount of chances that we've had, which is something that we kept stressing to the team was really important. And it's sometimes creating the chances has seemed to be more important than actually putting them in. You know, and it has to be exactly the same level of concentration from the pass that creates a chance, from the cross that comes in, to the contact or to the finish, which gives you the goal. You know, the lads have been in the right positions, which is the most important thing, but we just haven't probably rewarded ourselves and put the finishing touches to some of the good play that we've created.
Examining the Edinburgh derby, you obviously tasted it at Tynecastle earlier on in the season. In your opinion, how does that compare to the Merseyside derby and other derbies that you've been involved in?
It's difficult to compare when every derby is special within its own right. You know, it's very difficult to compare a Merseyside derby to an Edinburgh derby, to a Glasgow derby, to a London derby, because in the eyes of the supporters, that is the most important game. So from that point of view, this is a huge game on Sunday for the fans, because this is their most important game. This is when the dates come out before the season starts, they look straight away for 4 dates, and that would have been the first game, this game, the game at Christmas, and the game after that, and they're the first ones they look for. And that would be the same in a Merseyside derby, and the same in a Glasgow derby. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a full house. It's going to be rocking it here at Easter Road, and the players, have to rise to the occasion. We know exactly what we've got to do. We know we're playing a team in good form, but that's no different. Form sometimes goes out the window when you come into a derby. I've gone into a lot being the team in good form. I've gone into them in the team in bad form. It doesn't necessarily reflect where the result's going to go. It's whoever handles the occasion, plays the best football, and it's about which team produces more chances and takes them.
What's your message to the players then? Is it to avoid being suffocated by the intensity of the match, to detach themselves slightly and just focus on the game plan?
They have to be very clear in their mindset that nothing is going to change our game plan of winning the game. Nothing can deter them off that. They have to stay completely and 100% focused and believing on what we feel as if is going to get us a result. We've worked on areas this week where we feel we can hurt Hearts. They're not invincible. I've seen a few reports in the papers saying about the invincible look of. We could have easily beat them, early in the season. There's not, whenever a team starts to think that they're invincible, is when they become vulnerable, and I've had it myself. Whereas you go into games and you think you're going to win all the time, and people have told me about the Hibs' record against Hearts, and it's not as what it should be, but it's got to change. It's got to change sometime. That's a given. That's a certainty. It will not keep going the same way. There's going to come a time where it's going to change. There's no reason why that can't be on Sunday.
Just on team news then, Alan, Liam Fontaine obviously missed last weekend's match against Livingston. What's the likelihood of him perhaps being involved?
Well, we're just monitoring the situation. To be honest, he's making, he's made progress over the last few days. Whether it's going to be enough for him to start on Sunday or be involved on Sunday, it's probably still too early to say. But we're hopeful, but not overconfident.
We saw Scott Allen obviously handed a starting spot against Livingston as well. He produced probably his best performance of the season so far. How have you been trying to manage him in terms of, he's obviously a multi-talented, a very skillful individual, but how are you trying to get him to apply that and get perhaps a greater degree of urgency about himself?
Well, I think with Scotty, he is very much an individual, and I think when you like that and you have individual abilities which can be very good, you have to weigh them up between being an individual and being a team player, and I think at times over the years gone by, Scotty has been purely an individual and has tried to be an individual in the team. That's probably why a few managers it hasn't really happened for him. You have to be able to differentiate between the two in the game, as in when it's the time to be an individual and a little bit of the difference to change games. But on other occasions, you have to be the team player where sometimes it's just a matter of keeping it simple, and passing and moving the ball. And when you're in the final third, he's allowed to express himself and be that individual. But in other areas of the pitch, you have to play with the best interests of the team. And I think for Scotty, it's just a matter of weighing that up and understanding when to do it and when not to do it.
Do you feel that sometimes players that are naturally gifted fall into that trap of perhaps being self-indulgent and trying to prove consistently that they are a good player by a flick and a trick, whereas they can prove they're a good player by being practical and playing it simple?
Yeah, sometimes I think they feel as if the onus is on them, that they've got to do something different. When, for me, doing something different is doing a simple pass rather than a hard pass. It's different, and that's how simple it can be, And I think sometimes when you've got an ability, you try and complicate the game when you don't have to. The game is complicated enough as it is, without trying to even complicate it even more. And the saying is, simplicity is always the best formula for success. And I think that's what Scotty just needs to have to do. By all means, we don't want to take out that individual talent that he's got. By no means. But we have to tailor it and work with it and make him understand when it's on to do it and when it's not. And I think he's starting to understand that. I think what's happened is that he's always been told not to do it, or felt like you've been getting held back. Whereas I'm not holding him back, but he just needs to understand, and he does. There's a time and a place for everything.